I became popular in StarCraft Chapter 91-100. Thank you for everyone who pressed like and follow. It's a source of encouragement for each other. I apologize for any mistakes in the translation. You can donate to Kasi Corn Bank 025-352-0310. Then let's get started. Chapter 91 Falling Star. Don't panic, everyone disperse temporarily, find a nearby shelter, and report the situation at any time. It's true that Gong Xiaoran is not good at controlling the battle, but she is not an ordinary woman. Not to mention that she has cultivated to nascent soul and she has been with Chen Qingye for a long time. He is also influenced by his ears and eyes, and he is not behind him in the order. She immediately used her mobile phone to tell the team to hide calmly. The place they are in is surrounded by compact bungalows, with 2 or 3-story small buildings on both sides, and there are many bunkers, which is quite suitable for hiding. Sister Xiaoran. Something seems to be wrong. Lin Wu hid under the broken wall and shouted at Gong Xiaoran even as the gunshots rang out. Gong Xiaoran had already realized the seriousness of the situation. The gunshots seemed to come from 3 directions, blocking the entire path ahead. The units hiding in various places kept sending reports. The alley ahead was filled with people. This time, the number of enemies encountered was almost 10 times more than last time. The interception they encountered before was less than 20 people, and they ran away after firing 2 shots. They held them back for a while and did not disturb them at all. Gong Xiaoran immediately reported the situation on the west side to Chen Qingye, and the latter immediately realized what the Hefeng gang was planning. But in order to win in the middle lane, the team led by Chen Qingye had also suffered heavy losses. The exchange of fire with the opponent was gradually heating up, and it was only a step away from the electronics factory. The location of the electronics factory was easy to defend and difficult to attack. The Hefeng gang could transfer people, but Chen Qingye could not. They had been at a dead end for a long time. When they saw that the gunfire from the opposite side had thinned out, they could bring people in directly after a while and take advantage of the cattail gang's close-range combat advantage. However, once the troops were divided and returned to help, it meant that the hard work they had done every day would be in vain, and they might be ambushed by the opponent on their way to the west. Chen Qingye ordered all the guerrillas between the brigades to move west immediately to help Gong Xiaoran's brigade. He didn't know how many people the Hefeng gang had moved from the middle lane, but judging from the group chat of the western team, the situation there was not good. Everyone in the guerrilla team had motorcycles, but even so, it would take at least 20 minutes to return to help. Chen Qingye immediately judged, he couldn't move in the middle, and he couldn't retreat, so he fell into the opponent's trap. He had to go through the barrage of bullets to break through the encirclement again before the Hefeng gang could sweep the west brigade. If the opponent divided more than half of his people from the middle, it meant that the guerrilla team was insufficient. Only a solid foothold in the electronics factory could they send help to the west. 20 minutes. Reinforcements will arrive in 20 minutes. Breaking through the encirclement. The previous time had already caused more than 30 people beside him to lose their fighting ability, but it was hard for the other party to think about it. He put down his phone, took the lead, and led the crowd forward again. The 2 sides had been fighting fiercely for a day, and every member of the horsetail gang was tired, but no one was tired. Among them, some were for gratitude, some for power and money, some for honor, and some for survival. But no matter what their goals were, as soon as they stepped foot on this street, they had the will to fight. This was a gang war. In this dark, lawless street, people could be bullied, humiliated, taken over, or fought, and competed. This was the case of the Yutu gang back then, and it is still the case of the Mao Yi gang today. There was no right or wrong here. After tearing off the veil of greed on their faces, there were probably only 2 words left: live. Live with dignity in a dark alley where dignity is not worth mentioning. Master Chen, my family is in your hands. The little girl who had lost half her arm broke free from the obstruction of her friends, detonated the homemade explosive device tied to her body, and charged into the enemy lines with a determined face. Middle. There were still tears in the corners of her crying eyes, and blood stained the bandages on her severed limbs. She bit her lip tightly, not knowing whether it was from pain or sadness. She was like a shooting star shining down in the night, and the sparks scattered around the fuse were like tail wings, chasing her back without hesitation, and pounced on the shocked Hefeng gang members. Your aunt is here. Flames shook the sky with a roar, and a violent explosion became her last sound. Zhonglan, there was a shout behind her, but it was too late. Chen Xingye looked at the figure like light, and it took him a long time to react from shock. When he arrived at the crowd, his face was very angry. Didn't I tell you to retreat first, the injured? Why didn't you stop her? This was the first time he had shown his emotions in front of everyone, and many people were shocked. Chen, Chief Chen. Lanlin said that 2 of her good friends were killed by members of Hefeng's gang. She said that she didn't want to live anymore and wanted to avenge them. Chen Qingye's chest heaved. Shocked, he opened his mouth violently, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He took a deep breath and stabilized his mood. The Mao Yitang team will take the injured out first. Yes. He took out his mobile phone and wanted to say something, but he didn't know how to say it. In the end, he only typed 8 words in the general group. Obey the order, don't send them to die. They were fighting here to keep so many people from the cattail gang alive. Every time he gave an order, he was determined to gain the most profit with the least loss. Sacrifice was inevitable, but he didn't want to see such a sacrifice. Chen Xingye calmed down. Now was not the time to think about these things. Living beings still needed him. When he picked up his phone, he was about to start a temporary order, and suddenly found that his message was marked as an announcement and pinned to the top. But it seemed that the group leader of the general group was. The next second, Mao Yi's ID sent a message to his elder sister. That's right, everyone. If we can fight, we will fight. If we can't fight, we can run. We can lose the fight. And our legs can be broken. If you die, you will lose everything. Listen to what Master Chen said. And come back to life. The last celebration is halfway through, and I'm back. It's not fun yet. I'll wait for your triumphant return to Princess Yet. Compare my heart. Sister Chu is still alive, Sister Chu is still alive. What did you do? Curse me to death. Many people in the gang said that you were attacked by the Hefeng gang, and you've gone cold. I said you were blind. According to legend, Sister Chu has her own celestial phenomenon. Sister Chu defeated Ding Nan in the Wuhu resurrection competition. Hey, you can clearly see that the people from the third team, this is a common group. Hell's joke, go to the next door. Chu Yao's red jacket, you're from the third team, right? I remember your nickname, wait for me. Haha, have fun watching. Chu Yao's appearance livened up the rather dull atmosphere in the group. She was like the flag of the cattail gang. As long as she stood, the cattail gang would not fall. Chen Xingye breathed a sigh of relief temporarily. There was no news from Chu Yao, and he felt anxious. Now that she appeared in the main group of Mao Yi gang, at least it showed that the hospital was safe. Now, apart from the crisis of the Western Brigade, they had nothing to worry about. He looked at the broken gap ahead, which was the path paved with Zhang Yan's blood. Her heart could not stand it. Chen Xingye led the crowd to launch the final attack. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 92, Wings. Gong Xiaoran's situation here was not good. The gunfire was like rain. More than rain, it was like a storm. Moreover, the storm was mixed with hail, which put a huge pressure on everyone's heart in the West Brigade. After she gave the initial order to evade, she found that the entire brigade could not move at all. The teams scattered everywhere were locked by the opponent's gunfire, and they were in a dilemma. 20 minutes. She looked at the message from Chen Xingye with a serious face, desperately thinking of a way out. The incoming enemies were more visible to the naked eye. She didn't know how many people the other party had moved from other positions, but she felt as if she was fighting the entire Hefeng gang. It was impossible to break out of the encirclement so hard. Now we could only think of a way to retreat, a retreat rhythm, in the gap between the opponent's fire. But the Hefeng gang didn't seem to give the Mao Yi gang members a chance to catch their breath, and the gunfire never stopped, which made Gong Xiaoran a little helpless. They were also fighting back, but the number of guns was incomparable to the opponents, and the amount of support could only be delayed for a few minutes. The sixth team in the direction of midnight continued to send messages, and the pressure from their side was the greatest. Mr. Gong, the firepower at 10 o'clock is too great, we need help. When they encountered the temporary enemy, their method of communication was to use the earphone to make a direct call. In Gong Xiaoran's ear, the voice of the sixth team captain suddenly stopped. Shu, what happened? I have heard the answer. Gong Xiaoran cried anxiously. Team 4, Wang Yat, check the situation of Team 6. Brother Gong, Team 6, is gone. Gong Xiao. H. Ran's body seemed to be pushed by someone, and she was leaning against the wall with her hands, otherwise she would have almost fallen to the ground. Her chest seemed to be stabbed by an iron needle, causing an indescribable pain. Gong Xiaoran still remembered Shu. She was not even 20 years old. She was as beautiful as a flower. If it weren't for her family being too poor, a girl of this age would have been able to enjoy her beautiful university life. The girl joined the Mao Yi gang just to hear that the gang was making a lot of money, and she wanted to save up some money to pay for her seriously ill brother's medical expenses. But this girl who was not even 20 years old ended her young life with a gunshot. Bang! Why did it turn out like this? These children, they were just ordinary people. They had their own relatives and friends. They had their own aspirations and dreams. It was so cruel. Was it just for them to grow up in the dark streets? Or was the world like this? During the years she had been in the Celestial Society, she had felt a cruelty that she had never experienced in the past hundreds of years. The grief gripped her tightly like a giant hand, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Gong Xiaoran's hands trembled. She could not help but think that she might have been the one who pushed them into the fire pit. But the sound that kept ringing out the headphones didn't make her sad. Mr. Gong, they gathered and asked for reinforcements. That was Wang Ya from the 4th team speaking. After the 6 teams of enemies were wiped out, the opponents didn't stop chasing. Teams 2 and 7 took advantage of the low bunker at 9 o'clock to move. Cross the cover and retreat 4 teams. Don't waste bullets. She wiped her face with her sleeve. There was no time for pain. The other groups were so busy that they couldn't do without people. Apart from the support after 20 minutes, the 150 people who were besieged here could only rely on themselves. I am the deputy leader of the Mao Yi gang. If I can't survive, then who will protect them? Gong Xiaoran was born in a large clan in the northern territory of Fengyuan. As a rare heavenly spiritual root in the clan, he had been loved by thousands of people since the day he was born. Her cultivation was smooth. Before Yuanying, the clan protected her. After Yuanying, she separated from the clan, but her husband protected her. She used to think that she had seen the suffering in this world, looked at all living beings like ants, and thought that everything she had gained was just a single thing. But she didn't know that she was actually living under someone else's wing. 11th Unit, use a hand grenade in the direction of 12 o'clock road, and retreat to the center. But now she knew. 9th Team, Captain of 9th Team. KK. I have received a response and a situation report from your side. If you don't want Ashu's tragedy to happen again, Lin Wu, send someone to meet the 9th Team. She must become their wing. The firepower of the 9th Team is too strong. We can't get through. Damn it, is there no other way? Gong Xiaoran looked at the time. Less than 10 minutes had passed. She was trying her best to reduce her own casualties and try to slow down the opponent's attack. But all she could do was gather the scattered people in the direction she was in the center. Nothing more. A large retreat will only expose flaws. And now, a small retreat. The enemy's encirclement was gradually closing in from 3 directions. Eat it all up. Many members of the Cattail gang were slightly or seriously injured, and the night wind was filled with the smell of gunpowder and blood. Brother Xiaoran, you can't do this anymore. If you want to retreat, someone will have to be sacrificed. Lin Wu casually picked up the last few bombs. No, I won't. Gong Xiaoran's voice also rang out, and she stopped solemnly. Have you forgotten what Big Brother Chu said in the group just now? One life is one. But, if we don't do this, we will all die here. Lin Wu spoke and was about to rush out. 4 or 5 sisters almost stopped her. No, there must be another way, reinforcements would arrive in half the time. As long as they could hold out, as long as they could hold out. There's no other way. We're out of ammo. If Big Brother Chu was here, no, she was still recuperating, and now I could only rely on myself. Damn it, if I was a nascent soul cultivator now, if my cultivation base was still there, I wouldn't have fallen to this point. A few hundred humans. Wait, a cultivation base? Gong Xiaoran's eyes lit up, and she suddenly thought of something. She reached into her personal bag and rummaged through the messy pile of belongings to find 3 palm-sized discs. These discs seemed to be made of stone. There were dense and intricate patterns carved on it, like a manhole cover that had shrunk several times. In addition to these 3 discs, there were 3 fist-sized stones that glowed green in the darkness. Let me go, Xiaoran. Sister, it's already here. Why did you take out a few biscuits? No, we're saved. Gong Xiaoran couldn't hide the excitement on his face. How many? Are you there? Hey, take off your armor and give it to me. I've become popular in StarCraft. Chapter 93, Magic Circle. Sister Xiaoran, are you crazy? Lin Wu and the other girls stared at Gong Xiaoran in shock. I'm not crazy. Take it off. These 3 small round stone slabs were the formation slabs that Chu Yao had assigned her to keep a few months ago. She still remembered Chu Yao telling herself that these were the 3 lost trace formations refined by Elder White. Even though they didn't have a cultivation base, they could be driven by the formula. It's just that I don't know how much space this maze will cover after it moves out. But as long as it stays for another 10 minutes, it's fine. With the containment formation, they don't need to get involved with the Hefeng gang, they can just retreat. Gong Xiaoran took out her clothes. She put on a double bulletproof vest, and then put on a helmet. The Mao Yi gang's equipment was always simple, even these things couldn't be distributed to every member. She wore a coat outside, and her figure seemed to have grown 3 rounds fatter. Gong Xiaoran tried walking a few times, but fortunately, even though it was a bit heavy, it didn't affect her activities. I'll go to the front now. You guys cover my flanks. Lin Wu, I'll take responsibility. Now. Don't worry, I won't die. I have, the secret weapon that Sister Chu gave me. Gong Xiaoran didn't know how to explain this to them, but there was no time to teach them how to start the formation, so I had to go myself. After comforting everyone, Gong Xiaoran rushed out, and leapt through the various bunkers at the front of the battlefield amidst the hail of bullets. Under the team's cover, she got closer and closer to the enemy in front. Through the lens of the helmet, she could clearly see the flames sprayed by the gun in the darkness. Gong Xiaoran crouched behind a low wall, took out a disc from her pocket and dragged it into her left palm, muttered something, and tapped several places on the disc with her right hand. After some operations, the disc in her hand expanded out of thin air, and it grew several feet, visible to the naked eye. It changed from the size of a palm to the size of a manhole cover, and the lines engraved on it became even clearer. There was a gap in the middle of the formation disc, and Gong Xiaoran flicked her sleeve and placed a spirit stone on it. The missing row of traces was activated by the spirit stone. All the lines and characters flickered a few times, floating on Gong Xiaoran's hand and rotating slowly. She lifted the visor slightly, bit the tip of her tongue, and spit out a mouthful of blood on the spirit stone. The dim light seemed to be slightly stronger. Gong Xiaoran's body exploded, and most of his body appeared outside the cover, with a plaque in his hand in a throwing posture. There was a dull sound from his lower abdomen, as if he had been hit by a hammer twice. Gong Xiaoran knew that he had been shot, but right now, there was no time to check the injury. Misty Array, go! She swung her arm hard, throwing the array board like throwing a boomerang. The array flew into the sky and arrived at the peak of the Hufeng gang members in a few seconds. Due to the darkness, no one noticed that something was coming. Start! Everyone present heard a whistle like a ferry sailing from the air. Although the sound was very short, it covered all the other sounds that were present. Some of the Hufeng gang's younger brothers stopped shooting and looked up at the sky in doubt. Gong Xiaoran noticed that everything in front of her was starting to blur, and she ran back decisively. She knew that this was the precursor to the activation of the lost array. After running for about 20 meters, she felt the blur disappear. Gong Xiaoran looked back, and there was thick fog in the location where he was now. The formation board floating in the sky could no longer be seen, and it was covered in a thick fog, along with the Hufeng gang boys on the ground. The thick fog, like ink, seemed to have been blackened by the night. And heard the faint howling of a ghost. What is this? Why is there such a thick fog? Ah, ghost, there is a ghost, don't come. Don't shoot randomly ah. Although Gong Xiaoran didn't know that this group of Hufeng gang boys was here, what happened in the formation, but from the words coming out of the thick fog, it could be heard that they weren't having a good time, and they started killing each other in a panic. She estimated that the area of thick fog was about 40 or 50 meters wide, covering almost the entire passage in front of her. As Elder White expected, this small chi refining circle could miraculously change in her hands. Gong Xiaoran was overjoyed and rushed left and right with the remaining array discs, and did the same. After a while, the position of the Mao Yi gang was surrounded by a layer of fog on three sides, temporarily resolving the immediate crisis. Sister Xiaoran, what high-end technology did you use? They can't get out of that fog. The Mao Yi gang members looked at what was happening in front of them with astonished eyes. Yes, it's a weather-altering mine. Gong Xiaoran made up a little nonsense. Well, that thing can only hold them back for a while. Yes. The injured were in front, and the large army was behind. Everyone retreated from the only direction that was not covered by the fog. Gong Xiaoran counted the number of people. After this battle, there were 30 deaths, more than 20 were seriously injured and lost their fighting ability, and countless people were slightly injured. 150, less than one-third, could be said to be extremely depressing. She took out her mobile phone and immediately told Chen Qingyue about the situation, and the latter breathed a sigh of relief after receiving the news. Gong Xiaoran thought about it and then told Chu Yao about it. What? You're saying that you used the formation discs your sister gave you? How many did you use? It's an emergency. I've used all 3 of them. Is there any problem? Chu Yao's side was silent for a long time. And on the message board, it said the other party is always typing. Xiaoran, I forgot to tell you, that labyrinth, I forgot, it only lasts for a few minutes, I suggest you go back and see how many lives. End. Sister Chu, tell me honestly, what happened to the formation? After the eldest sister refined it, it was not a demon formation, but a killing formation, so you don't have to retreat. Killing formation. Gong Xiaoran was shocked. How strong is the low-grade spirit stone used as the formation's eyes? I don't know how effective this thing is, so I want you to go back and see. Gong Xiaoran thought for a while, and now they retreated to compare the terrain. In the open, even if the opponent catches up, they will not fall into the current situation. Lin Wu, take everyone to rest temporarily, I will take the 2 of you back to see the situation. Lin Wu nodded, okay, don't worry, let me be the elder sister. Be careful. Gong Xiaoran brought the 2 little girls who were nimble under the darkness back along the same road. It's so quiet, Miss Gong. It seems a bit too quiet. They had just gone through a baptism in the war, and their ears were almost deaf from the sound of gunfire. They were not used to silence for a while. After a while, they returned to the field. The battle is now over, and the scene is shocking. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 94 Dawn. On the quiet battlefield, gunpowder smoke and fog dispersed, and silver starlight sprinkled on the broken rocks and walls all over the ground. At first glance, it looked like an abandoned ruin, and it looked dark and quiet at night, but the ferocious corpses all over the ground added blood to this beautiful artistic concept. They moved the dead bodies of the Cattail gang, so it was obvious that the bodies left behind were all the younger brothers of the Hafeng gang. They lay in rows on the ground, with strange death patterns. Some were tightly packed together, some were twisted like dead trees in different directions, and some had their eyes almost popped out as if they had met before they died, which was extremely terrifying. Some were shot to death, which could be seen from the wounds, but these were the fewest, and many of them still had those strange deaths, as if their souls had been sucked dry. The faces of the two little girls were pale. And one of them was so scared that his legs went weak and he fell to the ground. Gong Xiaoran could hardly bear it, but her complexion was not good either. On the entire battlefield, only the sound of the three of them walking was left. Hundreds of Hafeng gang members died here. Mr. Gong, what the hell did you use just now? Is it an explosive gas, or are you going to hurry up? The little girl said tremblingly. Her body was a little stiff, and she carefully covered the ground with a cloth. I walked around in the crowd, afraid that my body would hit something. Gong Xiaoran did not explain. She closed her eyes and calmed down, took out her mobile phone and sent a message to Chu Yao. They are all dead, Sister Chu. Oh, I know. It's okay, you don't have to worry too much about it. At least the problem has been solved, right? Leave the consequences to me. An inexplicable evil fire burned in Gong Xiaoran's heart, and he turned on the sound directly. Why don't tell me it's a killing suit? Do you know? If we retreat later, the Hafeng gang won't be the only ones to die. Ahem. Xiaoran, don't be angry. Chu Yao felt a little guilty. She didn't know that the formation of the eldest sister was so powerful. After all, since they escaped from the Baishan mine, this improved version of the lost and killing array was the first time it was used. Can't you tell the difference between a killing formation, and an illusion formation? You said it was a lost formation when you gave it to me? You still have so many people under your command. How can you be the guild leader and be responsible for what? My fault, Xiaoran, calm down. Chu Yao knew that she was in the wrong, so she didn't say much. Gong Xiaoran might be a few years older than Chu Yao, but monks generally don't prioritize seniority by age. Gong Xiaoran vented a little and slowly calmed down. She took a few steps forward and found an array disc that had lost its effect amidst the pile of corpses. It was still the same size as a manhole cover. Several cracks had appeared on its surface, and the spirit stones on the formation pit had long since turned into floating ash. Can it still be used once? No way. My sister told me to just throw it away once. How did you deal with the aftermath? Hundreds of people died at once. This move is no small matter. Maybe the law enforcement agencies, the bureau, and the pharmaceutical company will intervene. Don't worry, I have contacts here, and I can handle it later. If you go ahead, take a detour first. The fewer people who know, the better. Alright. Gong Xiaoran hung up the phone and turned to the two trembling girls. Don't tell anyone what you saw just now, understand? Get out of this living hell. Where are the people? Where did my people go? Nai Hafeng roared angrily and turned the table. 300 people. 300 people. No news, and the West Road is coming. In the Hafeng gang's office, everyone's faces were extremely ugly, and the ugliest one was Nai Hafeng. More than 100 people defeated 300 people. Can they still be eliminated? Can they still be eliminated? Is this a shitty movie? Don't tell me they were taken by aliens. Nai Hafeng's face almost turned into his anger, purple. He roared in anger, spraying stars all over the room. Wang Yu, it's your crazy idea. Now half of the gang is gone, and the electronics factory is broken. Tell me what should I do? He pointed at Wang Yu with his finger fiercely, and the latter's face was gloomy at this time, with an especially great expression. Impossible, is it possible that they were taken away? He also felt incredulous at this moment. 300 people had not been contacted back, as if they had disappeared into thin air in the dark street. Wang Yu, it's all your fault. Now we are all going to die. Nai Hafeng. What are you shouting about? Calm down. Wang Yu, who was usually gentle, suddenly became angry and shouted at Nai Hafeng. Nai Hafeng froze for a moment, but he calmed down a lot, but the anger on his face had not faded away. He simply sat down on the sofa. No matter what happens, these 300 people are really out of contact, and only 200 of the gang can fight. Instead of waiting to die here, let's leave it. We have nothing. Is this the location of the 10th ring road on the west side? Nai Hafeng took a deep breath. There's no other way. Let's run. Prepare the car. He ordered his younger brother beside him, and they packed up their small things. He quickly walked downstairs. If you want to escape, escape as soon as possible. There is no room for them to hesitate now. The electronics factory has been occupied by the Mao Yi gang, and the location of the Dragon Phoenix building has become extremely dangerous, and it could be attacked by the other party at any time. Several cars that looked very expensive at first glance had already stopped in front of the building. Before Nai Hufeng got in the car, he looked up one last time to take a look at the Dragon and Phoenix building that he had worked so hard to manage. Thinking that the owner might change here tomorrow, he felt mixed feelings. Chu Yao, wait for me. He gritted his teeth and got into the back seat, and the car drove him towards the West 10th Ring Road. The battle between the two gangs had been going on all night, and it had already started today. Nai Hufeng leaned back in his seat, watching the sunrise. Exhaustion flowed from every part of his body like a tide. Wait a minute, why is the sun in front? Their formation had been spread out to hide from others so that they would not be seen as targets. But the car should be heading west. Where are you going? Stop. Nai Hufeng woke up immediately, reaching out to pull out the pistol on his waist. But someone was faster than him. Before he could even pull out the gun, the driver turned to the side, holding the gun in one hand and stretching it back. The black muzzle was aimed at Nai Hufeng's head. The driver slammed on the brakes and stopped on the side of the road. You are the one arranged by Chu Yao, right? How much did she pay you? Nai Hufeng remained calm, but beads of sweat had already rolled down his forehead. The driver's body turned back to look at him indifferently. Then, to Nai Hufeng's surprise, the man's other hand violently grabbed his neck, revealing his long hair and beautiful face under the hood. Hey, you belong to Ding Nan. Nai Hufeng remembered that the woman was pointing the gun at him. Sister Chu asked me to tell you that this is a return gift from that night. Zhang Erwen didn't say anything nonsense, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! The sound of gunfire echoed in the city area in the early morning. The flock of birds looking for food was shocked. After a long night, the 10th Ring Road on the east side began to rise in the early hours of the next morning. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 95 Discharge. Nai Hufeng is dead. The fierce battle last night caused chaos in the dark street. Everyone knew that the Mao Yi gang and the Hufeng gang had a very tragic fight. But no one expected that this fire would not end with the defeat of the Hufeng gang. With the death of Nai Hufeng, the short-lived Hufeng gang ended his short life like passers-by in the dark street. The remaining ones had nothing to fear. After Nai Hufeng died, they were defeated and fled. The Mao Yi gang had successfully occupied the entire territory of the 10 Rings. However, if they wanted to truly control all the properties of the 10 Rings, there were still many steps and procedures here, and it would take some time. Chu Yao recuperated in the hospital for a week, and was discharged to the astonishment of the attending doctors. It's really unbelievable. Such an amazing self-healing ability. If it weren't for my patient, I really want to do an autopsy to see your body. Naturally, Chu Yao wouldn't give him a chance. The autopsy, herself, and she got into the car and turned to Princess Ye, who was heading down the road. This time, the driver wasn't Su Binger. That woman was busy taking care of Yao Han in the hospital. After the war, she learned that her brother was injured, so she quickly rushed over. Everyone in the gang could understand what she was thinking, except for Yao Han. The weather was nice today, the sun was shining brightly. The car quickly stopped at Princess Ye's door. Chu Yao got out of the car, looked at the manpower and the newly installed detectors at the door, and nodded. Crack! As soon as Chu Yao entered the door, colorful stars floated out from the sky on both sides, colorful and beautiful. Congratulations to Sister Chu on your recovery and discharge from the hospital. Welcome home. Welcome home. Applause. Su Huohuo held the fireworks prepared in advance and brought dozens of girls to welcome him. Everyone was full of enthusiasm. Ai Chu Yao looked up and combed her hair. Behaved quite well, thank you everyone, I'm fine now. Brother Chu, I was the first person to protect you after you fell that day. Do you think I should give you a raise or something? Xiao Hua clung to Chu Yao's side and winked at her. Really? How could I remember that she would cry at the funeral? She couldn't pull it back. Brother Chu, don't trust her. Hey, I don't care about Brother Chu. Chu Yao watched everyone laughing and making trouble in the ball, a smile appeared on his face. After chatting amicably, she went back upstairs and walked into her office. Someone was already waiting for her at the door. Sister Chu is back. The visitor wore a white coat and thick myopia glasses. He was Cheng Nian, the technical engineer in charge of developing new drugs. Go in and talk. Chu Yao led Cheng Nian into the room. There were still many flowers and plants in her room, which made Cheng Nian open her eyes. He sat down with Chu Yao, and handed him a small square box. He brought. Sister Chu, this is the prototype, you can take a look. Chu Yao nodded, took the box, and opened it. 6 dark brown longevity pills were neatly arranged in the box, which looked almost the same as the pills she made herself. She picked it up with her fingers, and sniffed it a few times. Then nodded. After animal testing and clinical trials, your formula is very stable, and its efficacy is much better than other wound healing medicines on the market. Okay, the price of this pill. Like this box. 6. 1. One piece is about 15 yuan. One piece is about 2 yuan, less than 3 yuan. A little cheaper than expected. If it is put into production, what will the current output of the pharmaceutical factory be like? After all, we are not a factory that specializes in the production of Tianfang medicine, the equipment is limited, and everyone is not special. Experienced, this kind of medicine can only be produced in a month, about 8,000 pieces. If you include the follow-up packaging and quality control process, the cycle will be longer. Hi. Chu Yao was stunned. How much did you say? 8,000. Oh, this is really a small amount, but this is only temporary, and the factory needs to have new equipment. 8 or 8,000, is it too little? Chu Yao felt a little guilty. She still underestimated the power of industrial production. However, Chu Yao's words sounded more like he was questioning Cheng Nian. He wiped his sweat and began to explain, Sister Chu, you also know that the factory is still very small. After all, Boss Ding Nan didn't do it. Don't worry about it too much. Give me some time. As long as the equipment is ready. Cheng Nian wasn't the kind of technician who would just immerse himself in research. During this time, he kept it in mind. When asked about the achievements of the Mao Yi gang in the dark street, those stories made him tremble with fear. The young-looking Chu Yao in front of him was a vengeful witch. He didn't want to offend this person. Don't worry, I didn't mean to ask. Chu Yao saw his embarrassment and comforted him. I wonder how much a normal medicine factory can produce in a month. I went to work before, the place with a monthly output of about 100,000, if it was a relatively large factory, it could work automatically for 24 hours, and the monthly output would reach 400,000 to 500,000. Yu Yao was shocked. On Feng Yuan Star, medicine was rare. In the world of comprehension, apart from some big sects, those who could achieve large-scale refining were other forces that were skilled in refining. It was said to be large, but in the end, they were all handmade by monks. For example, the alchemy pavilion of Tianyin sect was still the lowest level. 500 was the limit, and thousands were unthinkable. This was the case in the world of cultivation. Let alone the mortal world, the only ones who could dispense medicine were wandering doctors and drug stores in the city. Sometimes, people who went to the doctor had to bring their own materials and spend a lot of money to get good medicine. You mean, with the current size of the factory, can we still produce 100,000 per month? No. That's unlikely, but as long as the funding is sufficient, we can expand. Okay, there's no rush. Chu Yao rummaged through the documents and handed them to Cheng Nian. I still have the prescription here. Let's see if it works. Chu Yao had never been in the past few days at the hospital. She had searched through her memory to find all the prescriptions that could be replaced with all the medicinal materials on Ling Yuan planet. Some were medicines to cure wind and fever, some were medicines to treat the stomach, and some were medicines to strengthen the body. There were 7 types in total. She clearly wrote the proportions of the ingredients and their effects on the paper. If it really could achieve hundreds of thousands of results, she could barely imagine the final profit. This was a dessert, but Ding Nan didn't care. He had no business acumen. Let me take a look. There are some laborious materials, but production shouldn't be a problem. Okay. You go back and try it first, then contact me. Although the Peacock gang now occupied a large amount of territory, the business was not on track at the moment. The money earned earlier was basically invested in weapons, vehicles, and the treatment of the injured and the aftermath of the dead. The money used by the gang was about 2 million, rumors were only 300,000 to 400,000. But that wasn't a problem. After all, the development of the gang didn't happen overnight, and the right way was the long-term trend. When Chu's pharmaceutical reached a certain level, the assets would not become a dream. Chu, my dear sister, I will definitely not let you down. Cheng Nian stood up, and as he was about to walk out the door, there was a knock on the door. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 96 Invitation. Cheng Nian opened the door only to see 3 big bosses from the gang rushing in. He quickly turned sideways and almost fell down. Sister Chu, about the assets that Yutta gang left behind, some of them are related to the insider. Lai Yunnan gang sent the contact, and Lu Shennan contacted me personally. Princess Ye received the message this morning. The person who sent the letter is Tianhai Municipal Bureau. Beijing, Gong Xiaoran and Chen Qingye hurriedly said, it seemed that everyone brought urgent matters. Stop, why are you in such a hurry? Tell me one by one. Xiao Bai, you come first. Good man, I just rested for a week, this gang leader is really not good. Chu Yao got up and brought a pot of hot water to make tea for the three of them. Baijing held a pile of documents in his hand. Compared to when he first met, he now did not look thin at all, he was a little fatter. He did not bother drinking tea, and directly handed a few files. When we inspected the mansion on the 10th Ring Road West, we found that Zhou Cheng did not only have the food and entertainment industry in the dark street, but also a part of the industry. Fisheries. Fisheries. Yes, Mr. Chu, look at the data in your hand. The two large fishing companies have more than 10 100-ton fishing boats in total. Their businesses are related to offshore, shipping and fisheries, and there are 3 aquaculture fields. The fields Baijing introduced to Chu Yao in an orderly manner. The net profit of the two companies is about 6 million per year. Oh, no, it seems not that much. Chu Yao saw it. She was a famous person now, and she really didn't like the profit of 500,000 yuan per month. Now the entire east side of Dark Street was in the hands of Mao Yi Gang, including West 10th Ring Road. The monthly profit of the 4 blocks could be more than 4 million, which could exceed these two companies in 2 months. The company's annual income. If you don't say much, it's nothing much. But expanding other industries is always a good thing. I understand. Then I'll let you do it, Xiao Bai. Chu Yao patted Baijing's shoulder. Chu Yao was confident in his business ability. Another thing, the Shen surnamed approached me earlier, saying that he wanted to invest in a newly developed pharmaceutical factory in Bangli. Yes, we reached an agreement verbally. I will bother you for specific matters. And what do you need to sign and stamp? You will contact me again. Okay. Baijing did not say much and walked out of the room with a stack of documents in his arms. He still had many things to do. Chu Yao took a sip of tea and turned to look at Chen Qingyu. The contact from the Lai Yunnan gang came the day before yesterday. I thought you were still recuperating, so I did not mention it. Chen Qingyu swiped his phone twice. After the collapse of the Hefeng gang, the two groups were born on the dark street. What does Lu Shennan mean? She thinks. Chen Xingyu rephrased his words. Surrender. Surrender. Furthermore, she was the former head of the Fish Head gang, and those who could climb to this position were definitely not good. Chu Yao thought that there must be a tough fight between the Lai Yunnan gang and the Mao Yi gang. The previous fight with the Hefeng gang, the fight on the western front, it seems that something has leaked out. Chen Xingye glanced at Gong Xiaoran, who was sitting beside him. This guy might be scared, and he doesn't want to continue fighting with us, and he wants to negotiate a reconciliation without setting a specific date. No way. So many people died overnight, it's hard for the Cattail gang to keep it a secret, so they can only try not to let others know about it. Negotiations. Chu Yao crossed his arms and thought for a while. It would be good if we reconciled for a while. After quarreling for so many days, the gangs have to rest. I won't let it go. Go negotiate in person. I'll leave this matter to you. But be careful of this person. If she betrays the Yeta gang once, she might not betray us again. A cold light flashed in Chu Yao's eyes. Speak, if you can, but if you can't. Keeping her is a disaster. Understood. Chen Xingye picked up the teacup and took a sip. He was not in a hurry to leave, and together with Chu Yao, he threw his eyes at Gong Xiaoran. The letter I just received this morning was sent by Mayor Wu of the municipal office. Chu Yao took the envelope Gong Xiaoran handed him and opened it, took out the letter and glanced at it. The letter had only a few words, just a few sentences. What did you write? Chen Qingye was also suspicious. I didn't write anything, I just said that I wanted to see me tomorrow afternoon. Chu Yao frowned. This is really strange. As the mayor of Yelai Company, he wanted to meet the gang leader in the dark street? This is really rare. Is there collusion? I don't know, but he invited you with great fanfare. There shouldn't be any fraud, maybe he just wanted to talk to me. However, it's always good to bring someone. Gong Xiaoran said cautiously, after sharpening a few times. Her character is also more cautious and steady. Chu Yao took out her mobile phone and found Shen Yu. Mayor Wu will invite me to have tea tomorrow. Do you have any clues? Hundreds of people don't know that you dropped a nuclear bomb. In the dark street, I can't suppress everything. Shen Yu replied with a wry smile emoji. That's right, it's because of this. Chu Yao rubbed her head with a headache. She didn't expect her sister's moves to defy the heavens to this extent, which gave her a new understanding of her sister's talent in formation. Even if he was a monk who had perfected qi refining, wouldn't he have to kill hundreds of people in half an hour? But Tianhai City was still under the management of the Yelai Company. Mayor Wu's invitation was equivalent to the Yelai Company's invitation, and she still had to go. Then again, Gong Xiaoran was forced to do it as a last resort. If it weren't for this missing assassination plot, the 150 members of the Mao Yi gang would have been buried under the Hefeng gang's gun. He wouldn't have done anything to you. It's just a warning. Don't be emotional. Just kidding, am I angry? Shen Yu replied with an ordinary smile. As for his strange behavior, Chu Yao resisted and did not drag him into the blacklist again. It's fine, let Xiaohua go with me tomorrow. Didn't you learn to drive? It's time to practice. Chu Yao waved her hand, but when she looked up, she found that the two of them had not left. They seemed hesitant to talk. What's wrong? Do you have anything else to do? Chen Qingye and Gong Xiaoran looked at each other, and it was Chen Qingye who spoke first. Chu. Senior Chu. He changed his name. Can you please reveal the method to restore your cultivation? I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 97 Alternative. You've seen our fight with the Hefeng gang this time. If it weren't for the armor that Elder Bai left behind, everyone in the West Brigade would have been shot dead. Chen Qingye looked very serious. The Mao Yi gang's power is gradually expanding, and they will definitely face stronger enemies in the future. If we restore our cultivation, at least in a similar situation, the gang will be able to provide more protection. Chu Yao just wanted to say a firm rejection, but after thinking about it, this was really a problem. She had saved herself from danger many times. In fact, it all depended on her own cultivation. If she was still a human, let alone escaping the Baishan mine, she would have starved to death in the mine long ago. Gong Xiaoran and Chen Qingye weren't reckless either. If their two cultivation bases could be restored, it would be a great help to both the Mao Yi gang and themselves. But Xiaoran, Qingyu, I'll tell you everything. Chu Yao slowly said to the two people sitting in front of them. She decided to reveal a small part of the recovery method. But this method is not suitable for everyone. I actually do not have a method to restore everyone's cultivation. Hearing this, Gong Xiaoran and Chen Qingye were shocked, but it immediately returned to normal, and it seemed that they had a similar answer. So the method I used might not work for you. Does it have to do with each person's body? Sister Chu, did you use a foreign object or exercise? Gong Xiaoran immediately caught the point. A cultivation method. Chu Yao paused. And I created it myself. A self-made cultivation method. Chen Qingye seemed to understand a little, and he quirked his eyebrows. In this case, it is understandable that it cannot be used by everyone, but this is a dangerous road. Chu Yao knew the disadvantages of this. The underworld Jews she created might be able to temporarily resolve the crisis, but it was still unknown whether it could reach a higher level after nascent soul. Creating a method was to take a path that no one had done before, and the trouble did not necessarily occur again. From her past experience, there was absolutely no problem in restoring her cultivation base to the nascent soul level with Ming Lingju, and it might not be the case in the future. But then again, in Fenjia Yuanxing, there were no living cultivators who could change their souls. The divine transformation realm was still a legend to them in the final analysis. Qingyu, do you mean there might be a road that was not dangerous? We have been in the heavenly society for a year, and we have seen the lives of the heavenly ones. The power of the technology they admire is integrated. In every aspect of our daily lives, serving the people is impossible for us as Feng Yuan monks. Chen Xingye put his phone down on the table and said in a deep voice. On weekdays, I am also studying the science and technology of heaven and man. These technologies are indeed very complicated and vast, and the appearance is easy to understand. But when it comes to the basic logic of technology, it is not. It is easier to understand the profound content than to cultivate. No way. I do not accept that heaven and man have dug deeper than us in the universe we live in. But fortunately, although there are many types of their technologies, they are all systematic and large-scale. Therefore, they are very easy to learn. It is like building a house because you have the foundation and the structure, and these most basic things, you can add bricks and tiles. The foundation of Tianren's technology is what they teach their students in school, such as mathematics and physics. No matter how advanced the technology is, it can eventually be interpreted with these basic subjects. Chen Qingye said a lot of introductions, and finally, back to the topic, what we found on the spaceship must be some kind of advanced technology. As long as we understand its principles and structures in depth, we may not be able to use their methods to restore our cultivation. Chu Yao was a little surprised. This was something she had never thought of before. Therefore, the safest way is to develop step by step. When our power reaches the size of Yalai Company, these technologies will be in our own hands. Chu Yao concluded. Yes, that's what I meant. But this road is not easy. Chen Xingye nodded. This battle with the Hefeng gang reminded me that ordinary people with only a few hundred weapons will make us helpless, and the opponents we will meet in the future may be weak or weak. Apart from you, there are 40 monks in the gang who were originally from Feng Yuan, but since it is Elder Chu's self-created technique, I cannot force it. There are naturally rules among the monks. Chen Xingye would not laugh at himself for digging up the roots of someone else's birth skill, but it is a taboo among monks. Chu Yao tapped her fingers on the table and started thinking. What she had to do now was a very important decision, which would determine the direction and future of the cattail gang. The Mingling Ju could only be used by herself, but the source, the Lingling Ju, must be useful to the monks. She became more and more interested in the man who wrote the secret book. This exercise written by a little-known senior expert could break the shackles of heaven and human technology. I don't know what level he has reached. If you can return to Feng Yuan in the future, you must go to the ruins of the cave to check it out. Chu Yao was not her mother-in-law, so she quickly made up her mind. I can't pass it on to everyone, the variables are too big, but I can pass it on to you two for a while. Chu Yao's face became serious. Let me understand first, once this technique is revealed, you will know the consequences in your heart, and whether it will succeed or not depends on you. So I want you two to swear an oath of the devil's heart, branding. Are you willing? It's not that Chu Yao is ruthless, this matter is very important for her to be careful. The expressions of the two were very excited, and they stood up immediately after hearing the words. Ancestor, the three cleansers, and the four emperors are above all. I, Chen Qingyu, swear by the devil's heart. If even half of Senior Chu's method leaks, the body will be swallowed by thousands of devils, the sky will be struck by lightning, and the body and soul will be destroyed. Like Gong Xiaoran, after finishing speaking, the two of them will kneel down and bow. Hey, let's go through the steps. It's almost done. Chu Yao was taken aback, and waved his hand to brush away the wind to prevent them from kneeling down. You two, I still trust you, just don't talk. We'll make an oath and do what needs to be done. Don't worry, Senior Chu Qingye will not let you down. Although Chu Yao didn't tell them, they knew what to do. Alright, let's go sunbathe. Pick a day. Then, shall we start? You two listen carefully. I won't explain it twice. Chu Yao said and arranged the soundproofing in the soul secret revealing room. Tell the two of them. This lecture lasted for a day, and many people didn't even bother to eat lunch. In the blink of an eye, it was already 5 or 6 in the evening. After Gong Xiaoran and Chen Qingye finished listening with thoughtful expressions, they returned to their room to study. Chu Yao didn't say everything, but told the two of them a part of the ancestral recipe. Whether they could research the fusion and fusion methods depended on their understanding. She yawned and decided to go downstairs to see what delicious food there was today. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 98, Qiang Building. Qiang Building in the center of Tianhai City. A luxurious black car drove crookedly from a distant road and parked in the parking lot under the building. Although he found a space, the car rushed into the parking lot like a snail, unable to stop no matter what. After the driver turned the rudder more than 10 times, the lost snail finally found its home and parked firmly in the empty space. A girl with a pair of ponytails opened the car door and jumped out of the car. She wore a fiery red windbreaker and big sunglasses covering her face. She walked around the car briskly and opened the back seat door. How is it, Sister Chu? Is my car okay? The car drives very well. Don't drive it next time. Chu Yao walked down with a feeling of wanting to vomit. Su Huohuo's car was more exciting than flying a helicopter, which made Chu Yao dizzy. To knock out a monk with his own driving skills, might be a skill. Just as Chu Yao was about to say something, Su Huohuo who was standing there jumped up in circles at the entrance of the building. Wow, Sister Chu, this is my first time here. There are so many trees. Look at the trees in the fountain. So much water. Huh? What she said made Chu Yao stunned for a moment. In a funny comparison, Chu Yao finally found an opponent. However, the environment here was much better than Dark Street. Chu Yao used her spiritual power to walk around her body, and after she was no longer dizzy, she looked up and looked up. Under the tall building shaped like a giant sailboat, there was a wide square brick and stone wall surrounded by green plants, flowers, and trees, which gave off a fragrant smell of soil under the penetration of the sprinklers. In the center of the square was a large artificial fountain pool. There was also a marble sail statue on top of the fountain, shining crystal light amidst the rushing water column. Not far from the fountain was the main entrance of the building. The roof and pillars were only 3 stories high. Under the large black glass sensor door, people came and went. They were dressed in different clothes, but many of them were wearing the black and white uniforms of the Yalai company. Some had tired eyes, and some were in good spirits. This place is very good. Sister Chu, let's rob here after we rob the Lai Yunnan gang. Come on, we came here to do business. Good, good. By the way, I haven't asked you yet. Why are you wearing the same clothes as me? Hey, isn't this suitable for you? Sister Chu's fashion is from Mao Yi gang fashion. It's Tianhai City's fashion. Su Huohuo twisted her waist, shaking her red dress. Chu Yao wanted to complain, but she didn't know where to start, so she quietly accepted Su Huohuo's flattery, and the two walked to the entrance of the building. Oh, I'll go, it's so cold. As soon as he entered the door, the cold air from the air conditioner made Su Huohuo shiver. Chu Yao patted her head again, bringing you here is a good experience. Don't be shy. It's so cold. Su Hua hugged herself tightly and muttered. The interior decoration of Qiang building gave Chu Yao the first impression of cleanliness. Whether it was the walls or the ground, everything was spotless, and Chu Yao could even see his own reflection on the ground. There was nothing new, except for the sensor doors at the entrance and the elevators on both sides of the hall. There didn't seem to be any outrageous advanced technology, and it was so ordinary that it was no different from an ordinary office building. Everyone here seemed to be very busy, and everyone was in a hurry. Chu Yao led Su Huohuo to the front desk. But someone was walking not far ahead of them. This was a woman in formal attire, standing straight and meticulous. She clasped her hands in front of her body. Turning slightly to Chu Yao, he asked. Excuse me, is this Miss Chu Xiaomi? It's me. Chu Yao nodded. Hello, Miss Chu. I'm Mayor Wu's secretary. Call me Xiao Lu. Come with me. Chu Yao grabbed Su Huohuo, who was looking around, and followed Xiao Lu to the elevator. Secretary Lu pressed the button for the 50th floor, and after a wonderful weightless feeling, they arrived at the top floor of the Qiang building. After Secretary Lu walked around a few corners in the corridor, they finally arrived at the door of the mayor's office. There was a bodyguard wearing sunglasses guarding the door. Xiaohuo, wait outside the door for a moment. Don't worry, Sister Chu, let me go. Su Huohuo patted his chest and stood side by side with the bodyguard at the door. The red was a little garish. The bodyguard glanced at her sideways, then turned his head away again. What are you looking at? If you dare to plot against Sister Chu, I will bite you to death. Su Huohuo smiled at the bodyguard like a frightened puppy. Chu Yao raised his forehead, regretting bringing her here. Secretary Lu led Chu Yao to a seat, then poured her tea. Sit down first, Mayor Wu has an urgent matter at hand, and he will be back soon. Okay, sorry to bother you. Chu Yao. Yao was not in a hurry, she had nothing to worry about right now. She sat on a guest chair and looked around. The mayor's office was in the same style as the hall, and it was not as luxurious as she thought. Both the bookcase and the desk revealed simplicity. The most eye-catching thing should be the large floor-to-ceiling window behind the desk. From there, you could see the coastline stretching into the distance. After waiting for half an hour, Su Huaham outside the door was in a daze and came in to drink tea with Chu Yao. Finally, I am really bored, and with Chu Yao's consent, I went back to the car to play with my phone. Chu Yao did not need any bodyguards. If she was really in danger, Su Huahua was useless. I just heard that this woman never walked out of the dark street when she was old, so this time I will bring her here to learn more. Ah, this is Miss Chu, the famous Miss Chu of the dark street. I have admired you for a long time. Almost a quarter of an hour later, Mayor Wu finally appeared, walked to the door with a smile on his face, and reached out to Chu Yao. Mayor Wu is a very busy person, he made me wait here for almost an hour. Chu Yao's hand was about to let go of him. How could she not know that this Mayor Wu was trying to show off to him? Oh, I can't help it, there are so many official duties that I can't stop. Wu Yuqiu seemed to not hear the yin and yang in Chu Yao's words, and waved his hand with a smile. Secretary Lu, quickly show Miss Chu the tea. I've already drunk the tea. That's enough, no need to pour any more. Chu Yao brushed his bangs. Mayor Wu didn't invite me to drink tea, right? He. Wu Yuqiu sat on a chair and looked over the bridge of his nose. Looking at Chu Yao through the silver-rimmed glasses behind. This is Wu Chai tea, a specialty of the third continent. It is said that there is a local custom that if someone gives you tea, you must taste it. If you don't taste it, you will be looked down upon by the owner. For mobile phone users, please go to WAP. Or greeting, palm reading is more convenient. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 99, about wine. Oh? Is it too harsh? It seems that I have to drink this tea even if I don't drink it. Mayor Wu has something to say. No, after all, we are in Tianhai. If Mr. Chu doesn't want to drink it, you don't have to force it. Old man, are you testing me? I want to see what tricks you are playing. I grew up in a dark street, surrounded by rough people. I can only drink but not tea. Chu Yao stroked the teacup in her hand. I'm not good at tea, but it's fine to talk about wine. Oh, I won't hide from you, Mr. Chu. I'm also an expert in taverns. I wonder what your opinion is, Mr. Chu. Fruit wine is sweet, rich, and smooth, not easy to get drunk. Milk wine is firm, sweet, rice wine is clear and refreshing, astringent first and then sweet. Chu Yao paused, but I don't like any of them. Which one do I not like? Does Mr. Chu like it? Wu Yuqiu squinted. These three wines are good, but they are slightly less spicy. Compared with them, I prefer strong wine. After drinking a glass of wine, I feel graceful, and my heart and lungs are excited. Chu Yao threw the teacup in her hand on the table and said. Break. As soon as the ground was released, although not much force was used, it sounded like a bell ringing on a distant mountain, and the echo showed a murderous intent. Although strong wine is good, if you are greedy to drink it, it may ruin a big event. The truth in the wine market is that it is natural to listen to the person who treats the guest. How could the guest dare to put down his chopsticks if host didn't put down the glass? It seems that Miss Chu is someone who understands etiquette. I didn't mean to overwhelm the host. The two were silent for a moment, and Wu Yuqiu was the first to laugh. Miss Chu is truly a dragon and a phoenix among the people. Don't forget that Wu will never play guessing games with you again. You should be much clearer than me about the situation in the dark street. Although our company is consistent in Ling Yuanxing, there are always things we can't control. Wu Yuqiu adjusted his glasses. You and I know what happened in the dark street recently. Ming, I want to remind you that some things are not about the Law Enforcement Bureau. It depends on whether you want to take care of it or not. His tone was serious, and Chu Yao listened quietly without replying. I'm not, no matter who you are, as the mayor, I am responsible for the safety of the citizens of Tianhai City, so don't reach out too far, Miss Chu. This is good for you and me. The other party's words have already been said. It was very straightforward. I can ignore what you want to cause trouble in the dark street, but if you dare to covet the inner ring, don't blame me for being ruthless. The development of Mao Yi Gang has attracted the attention of Yalai Company. Mayor Wu's words are really straightforward. Some things should be said directly. The previous matter. There were too many measurements. I hope Miss Chu won't let me down. Chu Yao guessed that he was talking about Zhou Cheng. You called me here just for this matter. Can't you say that it's this matter? The dark street is like this all year round, and many problems can't be solved in a day. For the sake of the citizens of Tianhai and Wei, I think everyone wants to see a stable dark street. Since Miss Chu is capable, she might work harder. As an employee of Yalai Company, I am also willing to cooperate with you, Chu. Wu Yuqiu said. This statement was perfectly in line with what was expected of someone who could climb to the position of mayor, but he had a small wrist. He just wanted to recruit security guards. First, they raised the flag of safety and security, and finally, they did not forget to pull the tiger skin of Yalai Company, which meant both explicit and covert threats. Mayor Wu does not need to be so careful with me. As an ordinary citizen of Tianhai City, he must do his duty for the stability of the overall situation. Since Mayor Wu is busy with business, the affairs of the Dark Road should be handled by the people in the Dark Road themselves. How about that? Such a self-sufficient Dark Road. It seems that you Chu are very confident in yourself. Wu Yuqiu narrowed his eyes. If you are not confident, you will not be invited by Mayor Wu to taste tea. It seems that Ms. Chu does not want to cooperate. I did not say that. In the end analysis, whether it is the inner ring or the outer ring, is part of Tianhai City. The competition and the battle in the final analysis, everyone is serving the Yalai Company. If we talk about cooperation now, are we not cooperating? What? Do you want to say it for sure? Wu. You country is a little confused by Chu's rumors. This woman still looks young, why does she speak more formally than herself? He thought that he had been obsessed with this method for many years, and the gang leader could be easily caught, but he did not expect the other party to be so difficult to deal with. Mayor Wu, don't worry. The corner of Chu Yao's mouth could not stop. She wanted to laugh, but she restrained herself very well. I did not say that I would not cooperate, but you have to give me time to think about it. You don't have to threaten me like that. I just brought the whole family and wanted to sneak in. It's just a street job. For the insider, I don't think I have the ability to take care of this matter. Wu Yuqiu was silent for a moment, then tilted his head and thought for a long time. Mr. Chu is a smart person, so Wu will stop talking nonsense. Okay, then I will take my leave first. Walk slowly. Chu Yao got up. Under the guidance of the bodyguard at the door, he found the elevator downstairs. What do you think of Chu Yao? Wu Yuqiu asked the secretary beside him. He's a smart guy. He seems much smarter than Zhou Cheng. Not just smart, he looks like a sly old fox. Wu Yuqiu's smile collapsed. For a long time, nothing had come to an agreement. Didn't she promise not to expand to the inner circle? Huh? She dare not measure. Do you think the Law Enforcement Bureau and the security team are really jealous? Secretary Liu's face showed embarrassment. But, you can't leave it alone. The company has too many things recently. Let her act arrogant for a few more days. A gang of gangsters can't make a difference. Chu Yao had already sat down and turned the car around. She didn't let Su Huahua drive anymore, but called a skilled driver in the gang to drive instead. 30 years in Hedong, 3 years in Hexi, don't bully Xia Huaking. When I go back and practice hard I will definitely not disappoint Miss Chu when I graduate. Chu Yao automatically ignored Su Huahua's voice beside her. She closed her eyes and thought of something else on Twitter. The conversation with Mayor Wu made her understand something. As long as they wanted to develop in Tianhai City, they would inevitably be restricted by the Yalai Company. The gang couldn't get on stage. Using Fenjai Yuanying as a comparison, the Yalai company was just like an ordinary imperial court. While the Mao Yi gang was a group of bandits who had become bandits, waiting for the fate of the bandits to be wiped out or recruited. As long as they remained within the sphere of influence of heaven and man, if they wanted to enjoy themselves in this society, they had to understand the rules of the game. The Mao Yi gang couldn't follow Yutta gang's old path and continue with the previous development pattern. It would only lead to a dead end. It was time to change something. Chu Yao took out her mobile phone and posted a message in the staff group that she was going to hold a meeting. I became popular in StarCraft. Chapter 100 changes. When Chu Yao returned to Princess Yat, everyone who had received the news had already been waiting in the conference room for a long time. She pushed the door open and looked at the familiar faces. Gong Xiaoran, Chen Qingyu, Zhang Erwin, Bai Jing, Lin Wu, Zhang Lu about the situation in the third continent. Zhang Erwin asked. I know a little, not much. Erwin, if you know anything, you can tell everyone. Zhang Erwin nodded. Actually, I don't know much. I just heard about Zhou Cheng's fishing. The company has contacts with the third continent, so I learned a little about it. The third continent is the smallest landmass on Ling Yuan star. It can be said to be a free trade zone between Ling Yuan star and other interstellar companies in Qinghai. Many companies have branches and head offices there. Steel Dome Company, Clear Tree Company, Caners Association, Shenxi Group, Pan Air Sea Business Alliance. Chen Qingye directly searched for the situation of the third continent with his mobile phone. This place is really chaotic. That's right. Good and bad are mixed together. If the Dark Street is a lawless place in Tianhai City, the third continent is also an outlawed place on Ling Yuan planet. These companies and forces are not under the control of the Yalai company. They only follow the rules set by the Star Development Bureau. Star Development Bureau is the abbreviation for Interstellar Development Bureau. If we move the headquarters to the third continent, at least we can get rid of the pressure from the Yalai company. And the third continent is still in the development stage, and we can find many business opportunities. But there are also risks, and we have to face them. It will be a stronger opponent than the Yalai company. Among the companies that gang leader Chen mentioned just now, some of them are far from being comparable to the Yalai company in terms of financial resources and influence, such as Steel Dome Company and Gonghai Business Partners, a true interstellar giant. The Cattail gang has dealt with Steel Dome many times, and the strength of this interstellar arms dealer is definitely invincible. In addition, if we go to the third continent, there are other possible plans.